Zoom where it says recording in progress. Better than like the old, like if you look at the King's Speech movie, they have a devil's eye red light.
Mm,
I'm not sure if you know what I'm talking about, but those older recording equipment. I've never used,
okay.
but it must, like if you had like stage fright or whatever, that would have been even worse. Almost like someone staring you down, you know?
Like a worse than a teleprompter.
Yeah. So the 50th one. So you're at work. I like the way this question is worded. So we're gonna uh, do it this way. To avoid copyright stuff, I'm just going to put in my own words. So when you're at work, you have your colleagues, the people you work with. Would you rather just keep to yourself and just work at whatever it is you're supposed to do, or do you prefer camaraderie and checking up on your workers and your fellow workers? And
Hmm. I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like in general, I have the attitude of I just want to get my work and be done. But I do like my coworkers now. So
yeah, so but that
I think ultimately though, I just like getting my work done.
yeah. Plus, like even with a good workspace, that's just not all good work. Like not all workspaces are good. Sorry, I just got screwed up on my words right there. But
Yeah, for sure.
there we go.
I also work remotely, so I'm basically just getting my own work done every day.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm just way too distracted.
This is a question of trust right now. Not necessarily on other people, but when it comes to learning, yeah, everyone has their way of trusting stuff. Some people are like prefer their experiences. Some people prefer what can be thought of. In the ancient traditions, you had like in modern philosophy, this is a different thing. Like phenomena versus noumena is more Kantian, but in the ancient sense,
Mm.
phenomena versus noumena is how things appear versus how things are thought. So do you trust the appearance or do you trust the how things are thought conceptually of things?
I think conception, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
As we know, appearances can be deceiving.
Yeah,
You might
just
be
want
in a cave somewhere.
right. I just wanted to throw in Platonicism, but also I think that's from Pyroho, the great skeptic.
Mm.
Noumena versus phenomena thing. Even though people think of Kant, uh,
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize he used the same terminology.
yeah, it's just defined much differently.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We have access to how things are thought versus how things are like appear to be. We don't have access to how things are in actuality and like transcendental idealist tradition, but we have how things are appearing to us. So
Yeah,
okay, 22.
interesting.
Um, so when you this one, I'm so glad that right now we pretty much have decided that you're a abstract person. So because both of these are very abstract terms. Um, so describing yourself down to earth versus being removed from things. Um, which one would
Hmm.
you describe yourself as, and can you give examples?
I guess kind of removed. I mean, I still am a practical person about things, but it's more of a practicality of necessity rather than what I actually want. I like to be kind of objective and almost have like a bird's eye view of a situation or a project. The details are kind of secondary to that. Although they are important, especially depending on projects.
Totally. $53. All right. Basically, this one, we've done this question for so long. I think we agree that you're tender-hearted or warm-hearted as opposed to cold or tough-minded, right? But kind of in the middle.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Plus, we're trying to save a little bit of time, not trying to rush things so much. So if we can get some of these repetitive questions out of the way quickly,
Yeah.
that's perfect. So when it comes to things you value in yourself, you don't have to say anything personal, but tell me about what you value in yourself.
I think I am very good at critical thinking. I definitely value that. Logical, kind of systematic, being able to see things through and kind of understand their natural conclusions is really important. And I think I'm pretty good at it. I survived my logic classes, so what else? Yeah, I think a lot of the feedback I've gotten too is that I'm just a very like deep, thorough, systematic kind of approach to things. And that definitely serves me very well working. And I'm also like a very helpful, like able to answer questions, good at like showing people how to do things.
Basically, reasonable.
Yeah.
Right. So we just got that answered very well. So 55. So this is just basically another repeated question. The answers are settled and decided versus just penciled in. And let's see here. I think you like things settled and decided. So we already got the answer to that, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. 56. So if I were to ask someone who knew you very well, like a close friend, what would they say about you as, in terms of, being easygoing versus, the opposite, being very determined and so on.
I think they'd probably say I'm pretty easygoing, like laid back, chill.
All right, awesome. The reason why I wanted to ask it that way was because, if I asked you how you saw yourself, like how it kind of seems to be in this one, um, then you would give me a very biased answer.
Yeah, that's true.
So, all right, 57. All right, so this is basically it's asking us a good conversationalist versus a good listener. We already know the answer to that from earlier. Uh,
Mhm.
with your permission, I'll put good listener.
Yes.
All right, 58. Um, do you prize in yourself your imagination, or that you basically can see things as they are?
Maybe imagination.
All right, sounds good. Also sounds like no one can gaslight you. What's reality? I don't know.
I did tell a friend of mine recently, like,
I gaslight myself.
why aren't we all idealists? Like, people care about the external world.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't gaslight me if I gaslight myself. You. Okay, so you're beginning a new study. How, like, when you're trying to focus on something when you're learning, do you focus more on like the fundamentals, the rules of how to do it, or the general overtones of how things seem to be?
Hmm. I think what tends to stick in my mind the most is like like the conceptual fundamentals. I don't know if that helps the question, but
Yeah, it does.
okay.
But as to what it's scoring that as, I don't necessarily agree with that, but we're going to go by it because this uh
Mm,
no, like, no purpose finding it because we're kind of using it as a scoreboard. So uh, and if we thought it we'd be here for a long time, there would be like
right.
20.
We'd have our own system by the end of it, probably. So
Yeah. Plus, the more people I type, I'll get away from this and you'll have a more conversational method. Like, and I think that will be much better in the future. But for this one, we're doing it like this and having my method kind of interspersed throughout it. So, um, what is a greater fault to you? I love this question. I'm just going to say it in my own words, and not skirt around it. That someone is too compassionate or that they are too dispassionate about things.
mm,
So, in other words, do you like your like Christ-like figures, or do you like your Machiavelli type figures?
it's kind of hard because, like, in philosophy, it's all about being dispassionate is like the objective.
I don't know. It seems for me, it seems like when I'm looking at ethics, it's kind of both. But that's just
Definitely, but like I don't know, just like whatever we learned, like at least when I learned in basic class, it's like philosophy is a dispassionate search for the truth, like that kind of definitional thing. But
for this purpose. This
um
unlearn that really quick and just go by your own.
yeah,
This
I
one,
think it's more important to be like a Christ-like figure, I guess, than a Machiavelli.
yeah, because like
Yeah.
for this one, it's definitely one of those where it's asking you to be biased. So,
True.
okay, 61. Um, so we're talking about arrangement versus happening naturally. Um, no, wait, that's a different one. Glad I just cut myself there. So you're we've already talked about this one, convincing evidence versus touchy appeal. You got a second to change that answer if you want, or I can go by what your other answers that were similar have said.
I need good evidence for things. Yeah. We'll just keep it in line.
All right. 62. So this one, we already have decided towards the first one, which is coming to a closure, versus second one, keeping your options open. And this is what you feel better at. Yeah. So which one would you prefer? Because I know we already answered this question, so I kind of already know.
Yeah, I think closure is kind of, yeah, like completeness is I get kind of torn on those questions, but I think that is generally true. I feel like if things are too open, I get stressed out.
And the good thing is, since we're going to verify your results as we discussed earlier, um, really that part doesn't really matter so much.
Cool.
I think
That's
going to
good.
go by the type and its auxiliary. So it's going to definitely cover, one that's a rational versus an irrational or perceiving function. So we'll see. 63 is definitely the range versus, I mean, actually, we had decided on arranged. So I'm going to put that there for time's sake, unless you want to change it.
Yeah.
Okay, 64. And I gotta say, it sounds like by this time when Dr. Keirsey was making the test, he just ran out of questions, so he's just unless it's like the
Yeah,
function,
these are pretty repetitive.
unless the function is okay, are you exactly sure about that? But then the only problem with that is then you could have like a very illogical answer because you might say it then and you say it differently later. Okay. So 64, easy to approach or somewhat reserved. You already, hmm. You know what? This one sounds kind of repetitive, but I'm going to ask it to you anyway because I think that depending on how you view it, it could be not repetitive at all. So if someone's walking up to you, they are talking with you, or they want to talk with you, would you say that usually they kind of just go the other way because you don't seem like the person who they could just approach, or do you think they just go ahead and approach you and talk with you?
Hmm. I guess people do approach me.
Yeah. But
I do end up engaged in small talk
yeah,
with people.
that's a nightmare in my opinion. But
So it's
so
kind of awkward. I'd never know how to end the conversation, but
but you would say
they might
they
regret it.
do, so they do approach you, but would you say that they find it easy to do it or difficult?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I guess they'd find it easy, I think. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so the funny thing about that one is it's the only point so far that I see where it looks like you have any extroversion. So,
That's funny.
all right. So this one is about preference of stories. So just tell me, let's just answer this without worrying about the answers. Just tell me some of your favorite genres. Your top two favorite genres would suffice.
Hmm.
When you're watching a
I really
movie,
like, yeah, mysteries, like, and thriller horror kind of stuff. Um, my recent book obsession was like, I guess it's more fantasy. It's like dark fantasy. There's like a lot of magic and very morally gray characters. Some of them are more sympathetic than others, and they're all kind of in a race to not die. So
mhm.
I like those kind of books. Fantastical stuff.
The good thing is that was actually answer B. So your fantasy and heroism. So yeah, let's see here, 66. So this one's kind of funny because like it reminds me of the classic ESTJ versus uh, like ENFJs, but we're gonna ask it anyway. So you're and so I'm not going to tell you the answers. I'm going to keep it open. So you are working um, with people, and you're kind of in a supervisor role. Uh, how what's easy for you to do with the people who are under you? not so much like what you're doing, but how do you approach them as you know,
Mm. I think I'd probably try to keep it like oriented to the tasks themselves, but also try to be like personable and flexible. Yeah, I'm like trying to think of like examples of like managers I've had in the past and who I would more like to emulate, I guess. I don't know if
so
that's
the problem with your answer is that you kind of answered both.
oh no.
So let's say, uh, yeah, you do like to put people to use, but you also like to identify with people. Which one do you think you would rather prefer?
I'd probably identify with people then. Yeah, I think
Yeah, that way we can break the tie.
yeah.
But this was a online test, by the way, so that's another advantage of doing this. Um, so we're going to go with uh, B right here. Um, so next one is when you are noticing something, you're in a job site, you are in a area, like a new area. You see people are kind of messed up. They're not very good systemic thinkers, and so things are effectively disorderly. Um, how do you approach them? What do you notice about them? Do you know, like, that's what I'm trying to ask, or
Like
about the meds.
how do I notice them? Like,
Yep.
do I make
So,
judgments? Like, is that
yeah, is it an opportunity? Um, is it a, that's what I'm trying to ask. Or, yeah,
hmm.
coordinate,
I guess I would, yeah, maybe I guess I'd intervene if I had to.
right.
Try to
So,
teach them new things or like try to help them put some kind of system in place to make them help them be more organized.
yeah, so you would definitely notice the disorderliness, but you'd only intervene towards the end. If
Yeah.
oh, okay, we're gonna put that one down. So, um, what are things you would wish more for yourself in terms of things like, uh, psychological strengths, willpower, or emotion, like what?
Like things I feel I'm lacking.
Yeah,
Um, Probably like the ability to like be more confrontational. I can I don't know. I don't know how to put assertive, I guess. Yeah.
all right. So strength of will, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're really close to being done. Got two
Woo.
more questions left. All right. Thick-skinned and thin-skinned. This is such a terrible way of wording it.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
like, I'm asking you not to insult yourself, basically. But it has to be, are you weak or are you strong? Like, so if I give you a criticism, like if I like, it's not just any criticism, it's something that you really that would cut deep within you. Um, like, how do you respond to that?
I think I'm probably a little bit sensitive. Yeah.
Okay, the final one, number 70. Are you more routinized and whimsical than routinized? Let's just keep to what he just said because I think that that's easy.
I don't know. I guess routine.
Okay.
Can I have my routines? Yeah.
Okay, now we just gotta tally it up really quick. Luckily, this is very simple math. Most of it's just adding ones, 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 ones.
Nice.
So let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 introversion, 1 extroversion. Now this one, when it comes to S and N's and the TF and the JP descriptions, it tends to like not only that, but I have to add it up a little bit more. Like because like there's more answers for each of them. See here. 1, 2, 16. What's going on there? Oh, I see what's going on. So I kind of made a mistake in reading it because I thought 17 was a 1 over it. And I was like, no, that's actually no, that's a 17. That's the other question. So I said yeah. 1, 2, okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 1. Next one. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 18N versus 2S. So N. So we know. So while we're doing this, like I'm in this Facebook group on Facebook where it's like INXX elite or whatever. They say that's only for introverted intuitives. They mean like people with IN. And I'm like, what? Introverted intuition? That's a type itself. What's going on here? Just gotta have a little bit of humor while we're waiting on this tallying. So,
Yeah, that doesn't really make any sense.
all right.
So
All
it's
right.
literally just for INFJs and INTJs then.
Yeah. 2,
Okay.
4, 5, 6, 7. All right. 7 versus 1, 2, 3, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would be 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 6, 4. So that would be 30. So while I'm doing this, you could always you can say something if you want. So we can
Okay.
actually
I
have.
didn't want to distract you.
Sorry, just don't want to allow silence, I guess. So by the way, we got F. So you're INF so far.
Okay, I'm interested to see the ratio. I feel like I tend to be kind of close on some of the like internet tests
Yep.
between the two F's and T's. So
Well,
it's kind of interesting that the please understand me too uses the letters
yeah,
like
I know,
the
right?
cognitive letters. Because in personality, he doesn't talk about it at all.
Yeah, I forgot exactly which one was done first.
I
Yeah,
think
no,
personality was written in like 2010.
yeah, it was actually personality was much later. So he must
Yeah.
have like I think the Keirsey's official thing does it this way, but that's because it's just an online version of this. But um, with the personality, it's much different. I think it's very much more behavior based, and I think it's much solid. It's just not
Mm,
Jungian. So he's kind of taking,
yeah.
he's not completely doing away with it. He's kind of more on the lines of, still, um, he's just trying to do his own thing, but still keeping what works. So there's still the rationals and all this other stuff, but then there's still the 16 subtypes, which the MBTI people call them 16 personality types. But yeah, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, that can't be right. 1, 2. Okay, that makes more sense. 8. So while I do this, can you talk about your experience of doing this and what you liked, what you disliked, and ways we could improve on this in your view?
Yeah, I thought it was really helpful. I guess the length of it can be a little bit constricting, like it'd be hard to get I think a lot of people to have the time to sit down and do it. I don't really know if it's possible to shorten this questionnaire though, for completeness sake. That might be one area to kind of optimize, but yeah, I like it. I think it's really informative. I was actually watching some other um interviews where people were kind of doing similar things, or at least like, I don't even think they were actually giving the questionnaire, but they were just talking through some of the Keirsey temperament like descriptions from Please Understand Me Too, which was helpful. Um, but yeah, I think this was a good experience. I'm really happy I did this. I've kind of always wanted to sit down and like have someone like type me and just like talk through the questions, because like we've seen, like there's some questions I need to be clarified. There's some questions that are just kind of bad or like don't translate over.
Mhm.
And it's really helpful also to just have like a second opinion about what the questions mean, because you might walk away with different understandings of like what they're even trying to ask.
Totally.
So,
And we're about to do the big reveal. And I'm not sure if this is going to be readable to the audience. If not, I'll just say it as I do it. And I don't have a whiteboard. I'm going to have to buy one. It would make it much easier. But can you read it? It says
INFJ, I think.
yes, INFJ. Yes, you're right. So going over it. So you got 9 introversion, 1 extroversion, 13 um, intuition, 2 sensing, 13 feeling, 9 thinking,
Pretty
15,
close.
right? Uh, it's very close, but it's not so close to where, like if you were to change your answers on some of them, it would, change it,
Yeah, true.
But I think that just means you probably rely more on like your, like people say tertiary function. I do not know exactly if there's a thing as tertiary function or not. I still have to study that a little bit, and I'm going to do a later video on it.
Hmm.
So like if you like your extroverted feeling must have its opposite, introverted thinking, really, keep it in place. I'm just going to say that
Hmm.
because there has to be a transcendental function.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. For the JP, 15J, 5P.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
your function as a type is introverted intuition. Now, as I explained in my video on that function as a type, I prefer to look at functions as either as they are as a type versus as they are as a function itself. There's definitely some deviation for this particular type. Um, Okay, probably should use my phone instead of this because it's kind of hard to just flip around. Um, like, how do you understand introverted intuitives in general? Not don't think about introverted intuitive thinking versus introverted intuitive feeling, but people who are introverted intuitive dominant.
Okay.
Like Jung gives us um, descriptions like the mystical dreamer, um, and here on the one hand, the artist and crank on the other. Um, the misunderstood genius, um, the the crank content with the visionary idea by which it is shaped and determined. Basically someone who um, really likes, like people talk about them as being future oriented people.
Mm.
Um, basically being like like intuition is a perceiving function. So when you have this in mind, they a lot of times they are very much into how it like having these unconscious decision makings going on.
Yeah. Okay.
I've had discussions with people who are like this, both in the extroverted and introverted sense. A lot of times, they're very excited about how things seem. They don't really, a lot of times, not all of them, but a lot of times they just don't like the to necessarily have a lot of the nuance behind things. They're like uh,
Mm.
very sort of in that sense. It's kind of funny because they're also uh, you know, uh, very introverted in this sense, uh, for the introverted intuitive. Um, there's neuro like it's kind of held in place and balanced by extroverted sensing in a primitive order. Um, if it like so basically if something happens and things get messy, they'll rely back onto that, and their intuition will be messed over, and they might do stuff like buy a bunch of stuff, look at a lot of comforts, basically overshoot things. That's how it's usually described. Now for the
Mm.
feeling, um, and tell me if this describes you with the feeling. So someone who looks at the value judgments of the group. So basically, the extrovert, like extroversion of the external world, the other. If I were you, I'd be more like this whole entire idea of you know this is what the group values. This is how I need to interact. It's not necessarily I'm going to deceive or manipulate, but I'm just doing this so I can get along. Um, you know,
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
and a lot of people like to talk about the empathetic parts. I think that's kind of okay to talk about, but I think it's overshot because a lot of times extroverted feeling types, they or not even types, the function of extroverted feeling type doesn't mean that you are necessarily empathetic, but more that you care more about the values of the group. Your moral system is that way. Now we have just a minute left. This was great. Do you have anything to say before we close out? Are you satisfied with your type or? But
Yeah, I guess I think it was about what I expected. Yeah, maybe we could talk a little bit more at some point about like the careers and stuff because I feel like when Keirsey starts going that direction, like it just loses me. Like I don't nothing about the diplomatic enabling careers like appeal to me at all. So
well, that would be great. We can do more collaborations. If you had your own YouTube comment like channel, I'd like to go on your channel. If you wanted to do this as well, but if not, we can always use my channel too. This was
yeah, for sure. I'm tempted to start my own, but we'll see. I
sounds
don't know if I have
good.
the time dedicated, but
That sounds
yeah, but
great.
thanks again for yeah, doing this.